I didn't believe in things like this, not back then, not when I first started going up into the forest near Mount St. Helens. To me, it was just trees, wind, and the quiet you only get in places where people have stopped trying to own the land. But I remember the first night something felt wrong. It was after sunset. The sky had that dull, bruised color it gets when the day is gone, but the night hasn't fully committed yet. I was near an old logging trail, just sitting on the hood of my truck, listening to nothing. That's when I heard it. Not a sound from the ground, not branches snapping or animals moving through brush. It was above me, a slow, heavy shift in the air, like something vast had passed between the clouds and the treetops. The wind didn't just move, it reacted, like it was making space for something. I looked up. At first I saw nothing, just the darkening sky and the outline of the ridge. Then the trees moved again, not from wind this time, but from pressure, like something had passed just too close overhead. I remember telling myself it was a large bird, maybe an eagle, maybe an illusion made by exhaustion and silence. But deep down, I already knew that wasn't true, because whatever it was, it didn't glide like a bird. It hovered. And for a few seconds, just a few, I swear the entire forest went quiet, like even the insects were listening. That's the moment I should have left, but I didn't. And that's where my story really begins. I told myself I imagined it. That's what people do when something slips past the edge of what they can explain. You label it as fatigue, weather, coincidence, anything that lets you keep walking forward without questioning the ground beneath your feet. So I stayed. But the forest didn't stay the same. The next night, the silence felt heavier, not empty, intentional. Like the woods were holding their breath, waiting for something to happen, or worse, waiting for me to notice it already had. I went back to the same logging trail. I don't know why. Curiosity is a strange kind of weakness. It doesn't shout, it pulls, quietly, patiently, until you're standing exactly where you swore you won't return. The wind had changed, not direction, but texture. It didn't move through the trees anymore. It moved around them, as if avoiding something unseen in the sky above. And then I heard it again, that same pressure, that same unnatural shift in the air. Only this time it was closer. I remember stopping mid-step, my flashlight still off, my eyes scanning the dark canopy. Nothing moved in the branches, no owls, no insects, even the usual night sounds, gone. That's when I noticed the trees weren't just still, they were braced, bent slightly inward, like something massive had passed over them so often that they had learned to expect its weight. Then it happened. A shadow crossed the ridgeline above me, not fast, not sudden, slow, deliberate, like it wanted to be seen, but only for a moment. I didn't get a clear shape, but I did get a feeling, and it wasn't animal, it was awareness. Like something up there wasn't just moving through the sky, it was looking down, recognizing that I had started noticing it back. That night, I left the forest faster than I arrived, but even after I reached my truck, even after I started the engine and drove away, I could still feel it above me, tracking the road, following the silence I had carried out with me. And that's when I understood something I didn't want to accept. It wasn't staying in the forest anymore. It was following me. After that night, I stopped going back for a while. At least that's what I told myself. But the truth is, The forest doesn't really let you leave it when something inside it has already noticed you. It just waits until you convince yourself it's safe again. About a week later, I was back on the same stretch of road near the foothills, not deep inside this time, just the edge, where the trees thin out and the mountains start to rise like old, sleeping giants. I was parked when it happened. No warning, no build-up, just an abrupt change in the atmosphere, like someone had dropped the pressure out of the sky. Even the engine noise of my truck felt distant. Then I saw it. Not a shadow this time, not a trick of light, a form. It came from behind the ridgeline, rising slowly into the open sky like it didn't need effort to defy gravity. The wings were enormous, far too large, far too wide for anything natural I had ever known. They didn't flap like a bird's. They moved with a controlled, unsettling rhythm, like each motion was calculated rather than instinctive. And the body, it wasn't clean. It wasn't defined in any familiar way. It looked almost like nature had tried to build something and abandoned the attempt halfway through. Wrong proportions, too dense in places, too hollow in others. But the worst part wasn't its size. It was the silence. No wing beat, no air displacement, no sound of movement at all. Just the visual certainty that something impossible was cutting through the sky above me. I couldn't breathe properly. My hands went cold against the steering wheel, and then, just for a fraction of a second, it turned. Not its whole body, just enough. Enough for me to understand one thing. It wasn't passing by, it was checking. Like it knew exactly where I was, like it had always known. Then it vanished behind the ridge again, as if the sky had swallowed it whole. But I didn't leave right away, because I made a mistake people always make in these stories. I stayed long enough to wonder if I was the only one who saw it. And that question, that doubt, is exactly what it wanted me to carry forward. After I saw it clearly, something in me shifted. Not fear at first, something more dangerous than fear. Attention. Because once you've seen something that shouldn't exist, your mind stops asking, was that real? And starts asking, when will I see it again? That's how it gets you. I started noticing patterns after that night. Small things at first, easy to dismiss if you wanted to stay comfortable. The way birds would suddenly lift off from trees in perfect unison, even when nothing visible had disturbed them. The way the wind would drop completely for a few seconds in certain stretches of road, like the world was holding still for something passing overhead. And then the shadows, always above, always just out of sight. Not long enough to confirm, but consistent enough to disturb me more than I wanted to admit. I began driving those routes more often, telling myself I was trying to understand it. But deep down, I think I was doing something else. I was waiting for it to show itself again. One evening I parked near an old overlook point where the forest opens toward the valley. The sun was gone, but the horizon still held a faint glow, like the sky was trying to remember daylight. I kept the engine off, no music, no lights, just silence. And that's when I realized something I still struggle to explain properly. The silence wasn't empty, it was aware. Not in a mystical way, not imagination, in a physical sense, like the environment itself had adjusted, anticipating something. Then I saw the birds again, a full flock this time. They rose from the trees in a sudden burst, spiraling upward, but not in panic, in coordination. as if something beneath the sky had given them an instruction they couldn't refuse. I followed their movement upward, and for the briefest moment I saw a distortion against the clouds, a shape that didn't fully form but implied itself through absence, like reality refusing to render it properly. And I knew it was there again, not just passing, circling, watching, and learning me the same way I was trying to understand it. That was the moment I stopped believing I was just an observer in this story. After that night at the overlook, I stopped going into the deep forest, but it didn't matter because it wasn't just in the forest anymore. It started appearing along the roads, not openly at first, never directly, always just outside the edges of certainty where your eyes can't hold focus long enough to swear on what you saw. I'd be driving late at night, usually alone, headlights cutting through empty stretches of highway, everything normal, predictable, safe, even. Then the air would change. That's the only way I can explain it properly. Not wind, not weather, just a sudden feeling that the space above the road had shifted, like something massive had moved into position overhead without making a sign. I'd glance up through the windshield and sometimes I'd catch it. A dark interruption against the night sky, too large, too structured to be a cloud, too controlled to be natural. It never stayed in view long enough for confirmation, just a passing presence, like a thought you almost remember but can't fully retrieve. But the most disturbing part wasn't seeing it. It was the timing. Every time it appeared, it matched me. Same stretches of road, same speed, same direction. Like it wasn't randomly crossing paths with me anymore, like it had started syncing itself to my movement. I remember one night clearly. The road was completely empty. No cars behind me, no headlights ahead, just my truck and the thin ribbon of asphalt disappearing into darkness. Then the radio cracked, not static, not interference, a clean break in signal, like something had brushed against the system and left. I turned it off immediately. That's when I saw the shadow again. Lower this time, closer to the tree line running parallel to the road, moving, not flying away, keeping pace. And for the first time, I understood something that made my stomach drop. It wasn't just observing me from above anymore. It was learning the route I took to escape it. And it was getting closer to doing it without the sky between us. I wish I could say I stopped driving at night after that. I didn't. That's another truth about things like this. You don't always react with survival instinct. Sometimes you react with disbelief so stubborn it overrides everything else. You start convincing yourself there has to be another explanation, a rational one, a mechanical one, something that fits inside the world you used to understand. But the pattern kept tightening. It wasn't just appearing near me anymore, it was anticipating me. One night I took a different route. Intentionally, I left earlier, changed highways, even avoided the usual stops. I wanted to test something without admitting I was testing anything. For the first half hour, nothing happened. Just road, darkness, engine hum, normal, almost comforting. Then, without warning, every single animal along the roadside went silent at once. Not gradually, instantly, as if someone had pressed pause on the entire landscape. Even the wind stopped touching the trees. That's when I felt it. Above me, not far, not vague, directly overhead. I slowed the truck without meaning to. My hands weren't really following my thoughts anymore. They just reacted. And then I saw it properly again, low enough this time that I could make out structure instead of silhouette. The wings stretched wider than the road itself, not flapping, just holding position against the air like the air had agreed not to resist it. And the body, still wrong, still difficult to register fully, felt heavier than anything in nature should be allowed to become while suspended. But what froze me wasn't its size, it was the angle. It wasn't circling anymore, it was aligned with me, moving in the same direction, matching my speed. And for a moment, just a brief, suffocating moment, I realized something terrifying. It wasn't above the forest anymore, it was above the road I chose. Like it had stopped being a chance encounter entirely and started becoming a decision. After that night, I started doing something I didn't tell anyone about. I began recording. Not because I expected proof that would convince others, but because my own memory was starting to feel unreliable. Like the more I saw it, the more my mind tried to soften the edges afterward, as if protecting me from the full weight of it. So I kept a small camera in my truck, every drive, every night, just in case. But recordings don't always capture what the human mind insists it saw. And sometimes that's worse, because the footage looked almost normal. Empty roads, flickering street lights, trees bending slightly in wind that never quite looked strong enough to explain the feeling I had while watching it. But I knew what I felt, and that's what kept me going back. Then came the night everything changed. I was driving along a stretch near the foothills again, same general region, but not the exact route I used before. I had convinced myself distance mattered. It didn't. The air changed first, then the sound, or rather, lack of sound. Even my tires felt quieter against the road, like friction itself had been reduced. I glanced up through the windshield, already bracing myself for nothing, already trying to prepare for disappointment. But it wasn't nothing, it was there, lower than before, closer than before. And this time, it didn't just match my movement, it broke formation. It moved ahead of me, cutting across the sky and repositioning itself further down the road, like it was choosing where I would arrive before I even reached it. I remember pressing the brakes without thinking. The truck slowed, the engine noise deepened, and the creature, Batsquatch, though I didn't like that name even then, hovered just above the road ahead, blocking it, not aggressively, not attacking, just waiting, as if it had already decided that this was the point where I would finally stop pretending I was still in control of where this story was going. And for the first time, I didn't feel like I was being followed. I felt like I was being guided. I don't know what made me open the door that night. There's a moment in every encounter like this where instinct is still trying to protect you, but curiosity has already taken the wheel. I was sitting in the truck, engine idling, headlights pouring into the empty stretch ahead where it had positioned itself. And then I stepped out. The air outside felt wrong immediately, not cold, not warm, just dense, like the atmosphere had thickened around me in response to something nearby pressing into it. The sound of the engine behind me suddenly felt far away, like it belonged to another world. I kept my eyes forward, and there it was, closer than it had ever been, not above the trees now, not distant in the sky, just beyond the reach of my headlights, partially revealed in shifting shadows and broken light. Its wings were still spread, but not in motion, held open like a warning that didn't need translation. The body beneath them was massive, impossible to fully comprehend in a single glance, like my mind refused to process all of it at once. And then something happened I wasn't ready for. It moved down, not fast, not threatening, controlled, deliberate, until it was no longer above me. It was level with me. And I swear, for a moment I saw the outline of something like a head turning in my direction, not with animal aggression, but with recognition, like it had finally stopped observing from distance and decided I was close enough to be acknowledged directly. My throat went dry. Every instinct screamed at me to get back inside the truck, to start driving, to do anything except stand there under its attention. But I couldn't move because I realized something that made my entire understanding collapse in place. It wasn't studying me anymore from above, it was studying me as something on its level now. And when it shifted slightly, the air itself responded, like even the wind didn't want to interrupt what was happening between us. That's when I understood the worst part of it all. This wasn't a sighting anymore. This was an introduction. I wish I could say it made a sound that would have been easier to accept, a roar, a screech, anything familiar enough to file under animal, even if it didn't fit anything unknown. But there was nothing like that. Instead, the communication, if that's even the right word, came in a way I still struggle to explain without sounding like I lost something inside my head that night. It didn't speak, it imposed meaning. Standing there in the headlights, I felt it shift again, just slightly. The wings adjusted, not in preparation for flight, but in a posture that felt deliberate, like a presence arranging itself for clarity. And then the pressure in the air changed, not physically stronger, mentally sharper. It felt like my thoughts were no longer fully private, not read like words on a page, but felt in fragments, like something was brushing against the edges of my awareness, not breaking in, just testing where I ended and it began. My first instinct was panic, raw, immediate panic, but it wasn't fear of attack, it was fear of understanding, because something in that moment made it clear. This thing wasn't just reacting to me anymore. It had reached a stage where it was trying to establish intent, not instinct, intent. I remember backing up one step, just one, and in that same instant, the pressure shifted again, subtle, almost responsive, like it noticed, like it understood hesitation as a form of language. And then the clearest impression came through, not words, not images, more like certainty pressed directly into thought. You see me now. My breath caught in my throat because I didn't hear it. I knew it. And for the first time since all of this began, I wasn't asking what it was anymore. I was asking what it wanted from the fact that I could finally see it properly. After that moment, something changed in the way it behaved around me. It stopped treating distance like protection. It stopped keeping to the sky. The rules I had been clinging to. It stays above the forest. It follows from a distance. It only appears at night. All of them began to fall apart one by one, because now it knew I could recognize it. And recognition, I learned, is a kind of permission. The next encounter didn't happen on a remote road or near the mountains. It happened closer to civilization, near the edge of town, where streetlights replace stars and people pretend the darkness is weaker just because it has names. I was driving home late, telling myself I was done thinking about it. That was my mistake. The air shifted again, but differently this time, not heavy like before, not charged with pressure from above. This time, it felt surrounding, like the space around the truck had widened in ways it shouldn't have. I slowed down instinctively, and then I saw it reflected in the roadside glass of an abandoned building, not directly in front of me, not overhead, but beside me, keeping pace along the road at the same speed I was driving, close enough now that the scale of it finally became undeniable. The wings were no longer just large, they were architectural, like something designed in defiance of natural limitation. The body moved with a strange balance, too heavy to be airborne, too controlled to be falling, and yet it was there, sharing the road with me, not chasing, not leading, matching. That's when I realized the most unsettling shift yet. It wasn't visiting my world anymore, it was learning how to exist inside it. Streetlights flickered as it passed them, not broken, not destroyed, just briefly uncertain, like reality itself hesitated for a fraction of a second before continuing. I pressed the accelerator harder without thinking, and for the first time, it accelerated with me, still silent, still precise, still there. That was the night I understood I wasn't dealing with something that came and went anymore. I was dealing with something that had decided it no longer needed to stay hidden at all. After that night near town, I stopped pretending I was still encountering something, because encounters imply distance, randomness, separation. What I was dealing with now had none of that left. It had begun to integrate itself into my roots, not in a dramatic way, not in some constant visible presence in the sky. Worse than that, in patterns. I would leave home, and within a certain stretch of road, the same feeling would return, air tightening, sound thinning, reality going strangely obedient. Sometimes I won't even look up anymore. I already knew what was there, and sometimes I still did, just to confirm I wasn't alone in noticing it. One night I pulled over near an empty service road, no lights, no traffic, just darkness stretching into the farmland and the faint outline of trees in the distance. I told myself I was done running from it, that I needed answers even if they weren't comforting. So I stayed in the truck with the engine off, waiting. Minutes passed, then something different happened. No sudden appearance, no shadow crossing the sky. Instead, the silence itself deepened, like the world had been gently muted. And then I saw it, not above, not beside the road, but far ahead, standing in a way that made no sense for its size or structure, not fully grounded, not fully airborne, just occupying space as if space had agreed to accommodate it. And for the first time, it didn't approach me, it didn't circle, it didn't test distance, it simply remained there, still, as if it had reached the point where movement was no longer necessary to establish presence. And then came the impression again, stronger this time, clearer, not spoken, but undeniable. You are not leaving this pattern. I felt my chest tighten because that was the moment I understood the shift had completed. This wasn't a creature appearing in my world anymore. This was a system I had become part of. And I was no longer sure which of us had entered the other's space first. I don't drive those roads anymore. At least, I try not to. But even saying that feels dishonest. Because distance stopped meaning what it used to mean after that night. It's not about where I go now. It's about whether the pattern follows the idea of me. Because it still does. Sometimes late at night, I'll stand outside and just listen, not for footsteps, not for wings. Those things belong to stories people tell to make fear feel structured. What I listen for is quieter. The moment the world decides to pause, that slight, unnatural absence where even distant sounds feel like they've stepped back, that's when I know it's there again. Not arriving, not leaving, just present in a way that doesn't require visibility anymore. I've stopped looking for it in the sky because I learned something I didn't want to accept. It doesn't need to be seen to be real in the space around me anymore. It only needs recognition, and I gave it that. The last time I saw it clearly, if I can even call it seeing, it wasn't above Mount St. Helens, or the forest, or the roads. It was in the reflection of something ordinary, a window, a surface, a moment I almost ignored, and for just a second, I didn't feel like I was looking at it anymore. I felt like I was being observed from the same level it had reached when it first stopped hiding. No chase, no flight, no distance, just understanding. And the most unsettling part, there was no hostility in it, no aggression, only continuity. Like whatever this was never meant to end. And I think that's what people get wrong about things like Batsquatch. They assume the story is about a certain creature appearing, but I've come to believe it's about something far worse, something noticing you long enough that it no longer needs to appear at all. It just stays with you, not behind you, not above you, but around the shape of your life itself. And once you realize that, there's no real lost sighting anymore. Only the moment you stop pretending you're alone in the silence.